Have you ever had a chance to review Nigerian fashion? If yes, you will agree with me that in Nigeria, there is no such thing as understatement. Especially concerning the fashion industry. You get endless options. Actually, anytime Nigerian fashion is mentioned, it clearly shows the country's rich cultural diversity. During a significant portion of the 1960s and 1990s, British design was a significant source of inspiration for Nigerian fashion. However, Nigeria's rich history and distinctive culture could already be seen in the country's clothing long before the country was officially on the map. Defined mainly by long robes and beautiful multicolored fabrics, Nigerian style is all about boldness and glam. Do you agree? Hello and welcome to today's video, where we deep dive into the unique elegance and history behind the Nigerian fashion style. So be sure to watch the entire video to fully appreciate the bespoke Nigerian fashion styles. Don't forget to switch the notification bell and subscribe to the channel. Thank you! That being said, let's go on. In spite of the fact that both the country's colonial past and its subsequent Westernization had a significant influence on Nigeria in terms of beauty and style, the country's fashion industry continues to be unrivaled. Since its start, Nigerian fashion has been characterized as distinct, thought-provoking, and wholly original. The Nigerian fashion industry has undergone a process of reinvention over many years and decades. But this process has involved embracing aspects of the industry's history while preserving its allure and personality. To say that Nigerians have always been hip would be an understatement, considering the level of sophistication that characterizes their culture and way of life. However, the Nigerian fashion sense has evolved through the years in the same manner that a child would eventually outgrow their diapers. For instance, the 1960s were a fascinating decade to live through. The majority of Nigerian women often wore long skirts and hats with their attire. Women accessorized their outfits with permed, well-sprayed afros, and wore a wide variety of apparel, some of which fit closely, while others were gigantic. People who did not have a formal education tended to dress traditionally and trim their hair. Both miniskirts and dresses swiftly established themselves as a significant component of the overall landscape of women's fashion throughout this era. Women's clothes became increasingly colorful during this historical period, and new patterns, styles, and designs emerged. Women wore little dresses with ladylike forms, while men wore brightly colored and pattern-filled shirts. Mini dresses with ladylike shapes dominated women's fashion. On the other hand, skinny ties were all the rage during that period. During this historical period, platform and wooden shoes were quite popular, despite the fact that the height of the shoes was not nearly as extreme as it is today. And during the same era, stiletto heels were at the height of their popularity. As a result of a film with the same name, the Oleko fashion popular among women in the 1970s consisted of a buba with loose sleeves worn over an iro that stopped anywhere from just above the knees to mid-thigh. And at the same time, the traditionally male garments of agbadas and danshikis have seen a remarkable return in popularity. For a more Western look, the colors were the most important thing. For instance, a man would look wonderful in a blue jumpsuit and shoes that matched the jumpsuit's color. In the 1970s, jerry curls and perms were fairly common hairstyles for both males and females. And still, during this historical period, to match became highly fashionable, and neither gender was exempted from its influence. In the 1980s, everything was larger, and the bigger something was, the better it was. This trend continued into the 1990s. Both men and women wore maxi skirts and suits with loose-fitting pants and jackets as a stand for fashion at the time. Many outlandish costume combinations were popular during that period, such as wearing leg warmers, a sweater, and a very short skirt at the same time. However, in the latter part of the 1990s, there was a gradual shift toward a more throwback, pop culture-inspired, and fashionable aesthetic that was heavily influenced by American fashion. Capri pants, the miniskirt, and the scouser, consisting of a pair of shorts and a skirt that had been sewed together, saw a spike in popularity during this period. During this period, boubous were the most commonly and widely used kind of traditional native apparel. In addition, there was a change in the way men's clothing was styled. Many pant hems became shorter alongside an increase in the size of their hips and waists. Men also started opting for buzz cuts and fades for short hair rather than employing curl activators and relaxers in recent years. Sincerity compels us to admit that American hip-hop, movies, and ways of life significantly influenced fashion, and the clothes, shoes, and hairstyles of that era reflected this. Every single movement was in some way shaped by the times that came before it. Some of the designs that made a comeback appeared in even more exaggerated iterations. These included cropped pants, cropped blouses, bell-bottom jeans, and oversized sunglasses. The little black dress, which was made famous by the legendary French fashion designer Coco Chanel, was also a huge success. Since 2000, American fashion has continued to exert an impact on the clothes that many people in Nigeria choose to wear. But still, to their credit, an increasing number of Nigerians are embracing traditional Nigerian attire and putting it to use at official and social events. A new trend in haircuts may be unique to this era. Women are eschewing relaxers and enjoying their natural hair rather than depending on weaves such as Brazilian, Peruvian, bone straight, or Chinese hair. This is a shift from previous decades in which women mostly wore weaves. The traditional Nigerian textile known as aso-oke, which is also used to produce shoes inspired by aso-oke, has emerged as a popular option for Nigerians who are concerned with maintaining their sense of style. In addition, many of the old school styles that were popular in the past are making a comeback. Turbans, caps, and even afros are currently fashionable, in contrast to bell-bottom jeans and skin-tight jeans, which have fallen out of favor. During the period of Nigeria's independence, popular hairstyles for young people featured intricate threading and weaving that, at times, gave the impression of being in the form of waves or cobwebs. Not only did people want to wear their hair in an afro, but they also favored puffs and cornrows during the time. Repetition is often considered the standard rather than the exception in the fashion industry, and Nigeria is not an exception to this rule. The passion that women have for handbags is something that is shared by fashion-conscious women from the 1960s, 1970s, and 1980s, as well as fashionistas living in the present day. Every ensemble required the addition of a bag. The bags that women carry now are far larger than the bags that women carried in the past because of technological advancements. And when it comes to bags, the line between a handbag and a travel bag is becoming more difficult to distinguish. There has been a resurgence in the popularity of small handbags and purses, as many women can now be seen wearing extremely compact bags that only accommodate a few essential items. And as a result of Nigerian fashion designers and fashion shows, Nigerian style is quickly becoming a dominant force in the fashion industry around the globe, and this trend is not going away anytime soon. To suggest that Nigerians have always been on trend would be an understatement, given the grandeur of our way of life and the elegance with which we live it. The fashion sense of Nigerians has evolved over the years, but it is still light years away from what the fashion police of the 1960s would have considered appropriate attire. During the early years of Nigeria's independence, young men and women in the country sported various intricate hairstyles that involved threading and weaving their hair into patterns that resembled cobwebs or waves. At that time, the afro, puffs, and cornrows were all quite fashionable hairstyles to try out. During the early years of Nigeria's independence, no fashion trend could be described as a precursor to the skinhead look that is so prevalent now among young and middle-aged males in the country. They were often slaves or chamberlains to royalty or aristocracy, and their heads were shaved clean to make them hairless. And for the celebration of Independence Day during the age of fashion, the significance of a well-coiffed hairstyle could not have been emphasized. Whether it was an afro or hair parted stylishly, the value of a well-coiffed hairdo could not be overstated. So what do you think of the evolution of Nigeria's fashion style? Does the current Nigerian fashion trend qualify to be called a statement piece? Let us know what you think in the comments section below. Until the next video, be safe and stay tuned.